Hello, everyone. I'm the Bodacious Cowboy with my co-host, Christy Knichel. Are you ready for a special edition of the Storytelling Chronicles? We are. Let's go.
Look out! Pop, it's showtime. Showtime. Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. Showed up. I'm wearing Cuban links. Designer mix. Inglewood's finest shoes. Don't look too hard, might hurt yourself. Know to get the color red, the blues.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Storytelling Chronicles, empowering women into logistics. I'm your host, Jeff Dickinson. By my side is the best co-host anybody could ever have, Christy Knichel. How you doing, Christy?
Doing awesome. How are you doing?
I am doing better now, but how was your weekend?
It was actually a really good weekend. Had nice weather, was able to get some relaxation in by the pool, so it was nice.
There you go. Today, we have an awesome guest that's joining us. Why don't you tell everybody about her?
Absolutely. We have the lovely Cori Eckley-Ritchards. She has been steering NATCO Transport with a steadfast commitment to logistics excellence. Her role as vice president encompasses orchestrating equipment and material moves across the United States, leveraging an extensive provider network and how their team ensures quality service that minimizes the client downtime and delays. Her expertise in transportation, inventory management, and shipping is integral to delivering cost-effective and professional solutions. Driven by strong customer relationships and strategic pricing, she contributes to her organization's reputation as a dependable partner in the transportation industry. Let's bring her on out.
Hey, Cori.
Hey, Christy and Jeff.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
Welcome
We're
to
excited.
the show.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on today.
Well, thank you for asking me to join your podcast. This was exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely want to hear your journey of how you got into logistics, and then how did you get to where you're at in logistics today, so everyone can hear, what happens in a family business a little bit.
Sure thing. Well, I'm Cori Eckley-Ritchards, and I'm the vice president of NATCO Transport. And I didn't exactly choose a career in logistics.
Most of us don't.
Right? It's by chance sometimes, and you fall in and you love it, which I can say. It was 23 years ago, right about this time. I had graduated with my undergrad in business and a minor in finance. And I was really not sure what I wanted to do, but I was exploring operations or getting a job elsewhere. During college, I did not work for my parents. That was one of the stipulations. And my dad had a health issue at the same time, and he asked me to come back and work for him, and he would help me get through grad school. So I said, I will absolutely come and do that, with some stipulations of I'm not going to stay. And that was a cool agreement. I mean, and I enjoyed it. And I fast forward 2 years, I got my master's degree, and I was thankful for that opportunity. And I was actually looking to go out in the workforce in my own career path. And unfortunately, my dad passed away at that time. So I was kind of like, okay, I'm here. And growing up in a family business, my mom operated her own truck line, and NATCO was separate. So she knew I was kind of in the NATCO arena already, because that was kind of where my dad wanted me to be, to kind of help him kind of just go through some things. And so I agreed to stay on with my mom to get over that sudden loss and to transition out with, again, the same stipulation, I'm not staying. So from that point, I was in a role of just operations lead. I kind of had various hats. I was not in the trenches of day-to-day moving freight from A to B. I was more on the administrative managerial side, which was great. I learned a lot. But then with the death of my father and kind of digging in a little bit deeper, I saw some things that I didn't approve of from a business standpoint. And I think, and that was kind of goes back to when my dad asked me to come into the company. He had some questions himself. And he said, can you dig? And that's what I was doing when he passed away. And then obviously a major shift like that kind of exposes a lot of stuff. And so I took it upon myself to dig a little bit deeper. And ultimately, I had a member of upper management who told a consultant that I was working closely with that I didn't have the ability to sell, that I couldn't move freight. And I said, give me a phone and a computer. Let's go. And Christy, I know you can relate to stuff like that.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. We have a very similar story with some of the stuff.
Yes.
Sure.
So from that point forward, I made myself a desk out on the sales and dispatch floor and had fun. I mean, I go back to the early days of brokerage. And granted, that was 20 plus years ago. So a lot has changed in our industry from technology and the way we do things. So it was a learning curve. And I value those moments and all of that hard work and doors being shut in your face, anything under the sun to get to where I'm at today. So from that point, I continued to basically rebuild and bring in my own team and start from there. While holding true the value of what NACCO does is the flatbed, heavy haul, oversized. So that's where I kind of just kept moving forward and bringing on people that meshed with our culture, the culture that I built in place of equality, integrity, and managing a well-run business. And the image was something that I was very, very big on, is I want a professional image of NACCO. And so I always say anything before 2008 wasn't on my watch. Anything after 2008 was on my watch. So, and that's how we've expanded. And for me, I've just elevated to that point of vice president at the time. My mom is still actually the president, and we are partners. I became part owner in 2019. Perfect timing, right before COVID.
Yeah, congratulations. Yep.
Yeah, so still partners. My mom and I work together. And it was, I think it was about 7-8 years ago. My mom retired from her truck line and had been running her truck line for 35 years and said, it's time for me to get out. And happy for her to retire, but I didn't think that she could go from doing that to doing nothing in a town of 500 people in Nebraska.
Right.
I asked her to see if she would be willing to be my accounting lead and take that over because my accounting person was retiring. And so she said, okay, I'll try this. And she's very thankful. So she's still involved in the business from an accounting. And she loves accounting payroll. I'm not good at it. You don't want me there. So so I get a chance to work with her too. And we're still business partners at the same time. So it's been a fun road, a lot of learning curves, a lot of life changes. Being from Nebraska and then relocating myself to Texas and not knowing anybody or having any family and going through that process was a huge learning curve, not only professionally, but personally as well. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I met some incredible people along that journey, great conversations and network. I'm thankful I did it at that time in my life too, because I was like 20. I think I was 28 or something. I was young.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a road course, but I had a good time doing it. And looking back at that, some days I wonder, I know there's times I was in my car crying, but
listen, we all have stories like that. But I'm curious, was the Texas because of your husband, or like what did you move to Texas for?
Actually, that's where NACCO's always been based. When my dad founded the company, it was based in Arlington, Texas, where we still are. And my dad was more or less kind of an absent owner. And I looked back, and before he passed away, he hadn't been on site at NACCO in 5 years. Oh, wow. And I even told him that at one time. I said, presence is a little bit, being a face in the industry or being at your business is important. And I think that's why I still commute. And I split my time between Houston and Dallas. And I still like that because I want to be with my team and I want to be visible and I want to be involved and engaged with them. And that's something I take pride in. And I think we could have alleviated some of the problems and issues if there would have been boots on the ground per se. So that is something that I've always believed in. So that's what brought me to Texas, that's where NACCO always was. And I did the travel back and forth to Nebraska for a while. And then I realized this is not the quality of life I wanted. And there really wasn't that much opportunity for me to be doing that the rest of my life. So And I didn't want to relocate the company because I did like our Texas roots and the DFW Metroplex for not only recruiting, but just our team. And so that's why I transitioned to Texas.
That's awesome. Yeah, for some reason I didn't even realize that, but yeah, that's tough to have to move like that, but then especially when you didn't want to stay, right?
Yeah. I didn't want to stay.
So
No.
did you really stay there because you just felt like you loved it so much you couldn't leave?
Well, I saw the opportunity. I saw the opportunity that it's a great industry. There's so many parts of transportation that you can be in, and there's so many different pockets and corners. And I liked the flatbed heavy haul arena. And I think that whole mindset of you can't sell. And then I started selling and I started seeing the success of my team and working together. That's when I felt like, okay, I can do this because every day is different. And I like excitement and chaos in my job. So I figured that transportation was a good fit then.
No, that's awesome. That's something that Jeff actually specializes in, right, Jeff? The heavy haul?
Yeah, we do a little bit about that, but mine's pretty much dedicated. I mean, I was on the shipper side for 37 years, and I'm not the type of person that dabbles in the spot market because I call that the petri dish for fraud, and it's like, no, thanks. I like the big hitters because it's just I like to work smarter, not harder, to achieve more in less time, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that you probably do the same thing because, heavy haul and that's pretty complicated stuff.
Yes.
So what you're doing in that arena, you could get lost real fast and lose business. Really.
Right.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, talk about being in a family business a little bit. One of the struggles I think we faced as we grew, you talk about being in a family business and treating everyone like family. Sometimes I go 50-50, right? Being in a family business can really be bad, but it can be really good too. But I think most people think it's great. Have you struggled to kind of keep that? Do you say like we're a small family business, like we try to keep that kind of culture you talked about building, or is it a different kind of culture you kind of get away from the family side of it?
I would say it's a 50-50. I love we're a small team. And right now we're all female. So
Nice.
we're all female on my team. And we have combined industry of like 75 plus years experience on our team of females. So we are a close-knit group and they've all been their tenure for quite some time. So I feel that we do have a happy medium. We have a small family-owned business, but yet we have the image and customer service and solutions of a big transportation company. And that is where that's something that like even my staff says. They said we came from corporate America and then coming to work for NATCO, where I allow wearing jeans and a NATCO t-shirt. They said we couldn't go back to working in corporate America because of the culture that we have in our office and our team. That it's a comfort level, but yet we're here to do a job and we know each other's strengths and weaknesses. We can almost read, like, I know that my ops manager, she can read between the lines of my emails and she can answer for me. And she does at times. And it's exactly like I would have answered. So I think building that level of culture and understanding on a team is tough. But once you have it, it's very rewarding to the entire team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. So, what are some of the challenges that you could talk to in growing up in that family business for the time? I know it doesn't seem like you worked with your dad too long, right?
Yeah, I didn't get it. I mean, I worked for a few years with my dad, but what I do value on that side of the fence is growing up in a family-owned business. And Christy, I think you and I are about the same age. So we grew up in a time that the economy was not great. And there was a lot of struggles in that end of it. And so listening to my parents talk about business and the experience, and then spending time being in a small town in Nebraska, there was nothing to do in the summers. So I spent a lot of time around my parents' business and got a chance to ride along with my dad to different things or different job sites. And so I got a visual growing up, and I value a lot of that knowledge still because there's little things that pop up and I'm like, my dad told me that.
Right.
And so that was something that I valued of knowing and understanding. And I do a lot of things like my dad did, which is good and bad. But that's where I'm thankful that I had that experience and also that growing up knowledge. because I've been able to apply that to my life as well as my business.
Yeah, I think most people would say the same thing. Like, there's a lot of things I valued about my dad, right? But then on the other hand, he's threatening to fire me if I pay overtime. And I'm just like, are you serious? It's the law. Like,
yeah, some of the concepts.
Yeah, so I talk about, like, he's been a great mentor for a lot of things, but also I say, like, of what not to do as well in some cases.
Right. That's something like my dad, before he passed away, and we were kind of unraveling Matco. He asked me, he said, how did I get in this situation? And I said, you trust everyone. You're the cowboy truck driver handshake deal. We don't need an attorney. We don't need an agreement. You're true to your word. And I said, there's no fault in that, but unfortunately the world's not rounded that way. And unfortunately, and that's what I told him. And I could tell it was heartbreaking for him, but I see myself being that way at times. And I'm like, okay, you got to take some of that and just realize that not everybody's wired like you. And so that was one thing I remember. He's like, how did I get in this situation? And I'm like, you're too trusting. And I think I followed that up with, if we were to do a partnership or a business, we'd have an attorney. And he kind of looked at me like I was crazy.
Well, it's funny you say that, because my people tell me the same thing here, that I'm too trusting and stuff like that. And I remember a long time ago, my dad, we had to hire a COO, not the one I have now, but he's like, we need the hammer. You need someone who's going to be the bad guy. You know?
The hammer, bringing the hammer.
Yeah.
That's my ops manager. She is actually nicknamed the Hammer, and I bought her mini.
Oh, really?
And Christy, you met her. It's Shaquana. You met her at BCS. She's my Hammer.
I love it. Yeah, I always, like, initially I was kind of like, okay, I think I know what you mean, right? Because again, I wasn't like that person. I would tell people stuff, but I wasn't there yelling and all that kind of stuff, where my dad wanted that type of environment. You know, you got to, like, shake some of these people up. So it's kind of interesting to hear you say that.
Right.
No, but I understand your dad's perspective, because I mean, I started in the business in 1980, and back then, drivers respected their position. They wore uniforms. A handshake was an ironclad contract. You were very trusting back then, because they respected you. You respected them. You didn't have to worry about the fraud and all this other kind of theft and everything that you see going on right now. So, I mean, it did work back then. It was very trusting. Yeah. But as the evolution of logistics kept turning and burning, things started changing, and rapidly, tech-wise, the way that people did business and everything. So, I mean, I understand that. And it's the people who didn't evolve with the evolution of logistics and the technology and all of that, and refused, said, hey, I ain't going down there, because I know what's not broken doesn't need to be fixed. I'm staying on that road. That's a wrong course. It was a wrong course. And some people just can't do that.
I mean, would you say, like, when people talk about me and my dad's, like, his leadership style, like, what was his leadership style compared to, like, how you are today? Would you say it's similar, or are you different?
I would say we're actually more similar than I probably realize. My dad was not a screamer yeller type person. He was more calm and relaxed. He was more, he was on the positive side, and he was one who could very much work with a person or a team, and what's broke, not fixed type mentality. And I may be a little bit different I see that approach, but I may try to work some angles to improve, not just be hands off and say, well, that's how Joe is, so we're just going to let Joe be. And I think that's true. And like you said, Jeff, I always think of my dad during tracking, because one, he would still have a flip phone, and two, he would refuse to track. And so, and I think about that when I have a driver who's like, I have a flip phone and I'm not tracking. I'm 65 years old, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm okay. If you say you're going to get there, and just knowing that gut feel and see that their credentials are okay, they've been on a network, I'm like, yeah, he doesn't have to track, because I know that my dad wouldn't be tracking either.
Well, it's funny you say that, where my dad's the complete opposite. He would, like, stand behind me, making sure I was faxing those tracking records to the customers by 8:30 in the morning. He was pretty intense when it came to that type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It was back in the day where I think I was 19 and the first cell phones came out, and like the Blackberries and the flip phones and that kind of thing.
Blackberries.
Yes, and Nextel. He thought that was the greatest thing. Like he's like, and I can do like a walkie-talkie, and then I'd be at home, right? And he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" You know, and I'm like, "Stop calling me on this."
No, so what you're trying to say, Cori, is that your father wasn't the one on blood pressure pills. You were.
Well, he was, and I'm not anywhere close to that. And people are like, you have that fireball mentality, and yet you're just like calm. And so yeah, he portrayed that hold the heavy line, but maybe it was a little bit softer teddy bear when it came across.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, no, that's awesome to hear. So what would you say was one of your biggest challenges that you faced, like transitioning into leadership?
I would say the timing was also very challenging because not only had I come in very recently to a role at NATCO where a lot of people maybe didn't know why I was there, or there was an understanding of the owner's daughter is here. That was very challenging at times. After then his death, then it came that I kind of was just there and trying to run the roadmap. And there was even points where I didn't even have a key to the office and I wasn't allowed to be there unsupervised. And yeah.
Who made that decision though?
And that was me coming in because that's before I got to Texas full time. I had to really do some changes. And so that was one of the toughest parts, is trying to probably define my role and that I wasn't going away. There was an attempt to get me to go away, but it didn't work. And so that was very challenging. And then I would say the other piece is there's obviously a rebuild that I had to go through, and the image of NATCO changed, and not saying good or bad. It just changed with the way that I present NATCO and our work. So there's kind of a belief is like, oh, she just stepped into that role, where they didn't see the early days of me on a sales floor, which I still love to sit there and do my job. And pounding out those calls to get new shippers into our network and to build that rapport in the early days. So that's the side that some people don't know or don't see. And I still love that environment of, there's a challenge over here, a customer that would like to get to know NATCO. I'm all on that. That's my role still, because I like that arena. And so I'm still actively in a sales role at NATCO and managing the business. So I would say that the balance is even tough for me at times of what hat do I wear when, and knowing what's beneficial for not only NATCO and my team, but for myself. So I would say those are some of the challenges that I faced of being a family member too, and then not sure on the defined role and the timing of it. And then obviously moving forward in that role, or just kind of a blank slate after my dad passed away, saying, okay, go figure this out. And that was probably my biggest challenge.
And him being gone, obviously my dad only passed away a few years ago. So we were, I had been here a long time, but it was still kind of there's been times it's like, oh, I'd like to call my dad and ask him a question. And then you don't. But one thing I wanted to point out that you mentioned, like the fact that you had worked in the business before. So one of the things that I do here, because I do think it's crucial that the people know that you actually worked in the business if you did, because I do think there's a respect for that. So when we bring in new people, I do go to lunch with them and I do talk about the different roles that I sat in, because a lot of times the people aren't going to know. And I think it is important that people that work for you do know that you've done those roles. You know what it's like to sit in those seats. You're not just up here calling the shots because you're the owner's daughter that just randomly came in, right, to take over the business. Yep. So I think it's important.
Definitely.
Do you feel that you get a sense of more respect from your team too because of that?
Yes, absolutely. Because, I mean, everybody calls it the open door policy. The way our office structure is worked, we're in a co-working facility. I love that environment, and our doors are literally across. There's a hallway, and they're sliding doors, glass doors, and they're open all the time. and it's literally that 10 foot across. Everybody hears everybody's conversation. There's no closed doors, and I like that, and I think that that's helped our culture too. Is I've always sat in the bullpen. I've never had my own office. If it was collecting dust because I was never in there. And that's something that Shaquana even jokes about. She said, "You spend more time in my office than you do your own."
Yeah.
And
So when-
I think it's out of habit per se, but I think that my team sees that side of me, and I will dive in and help them at any time with anything.
So let me ask you this. I just want to go back to a comment you said that you kind of changed the brand of NACCO, right? So how did that go over with your existing shippers, clients that you had that were so used to the old ways, and then you turn that? What kind of obstacles and problems did you have with that new marketing structure of rebranding NACCO?
You're kind of twofold. I'm going to go. A lot of them were not the caliber of client that we necessarily wanted at that time, or there were some underhanded, questionable problems because we did have some agents in the field that were running ragged at the time, and so there was a lot of restructuring that approach too. So we basically started over, and you all remember 2008 was just a wonderful time to do that.
Wonderful.
Wonderful time. So that was another battle within a battle. And so great question, Jeff, is we basically started over. We started over with the level of approach that we took and our target client and our target, a good fit for us. We basically started over on that side.
And did those customers? I mean, you're a woman-owned business, right? They were dealing with your dad. You're coming in. You're taking over. Did you have any problems with talking to men? Carriers, trying to convince them to take the load and everything. Did you get any lip or anything like that, derogatory, or did they already know you since you've been in the business now for a while, and that wasn't a problem?
Well, and they actually didn't really know my dad because he was kind of a silent partner per se of NACCO. He wasn't actively involved, engaged on the transaction side. There was a whole other team and group involved in that. Hence the disconnect between the two. And so my name really didn't resonate with anybody at that time. When you say kind of pushback dealing with guys, I always said my first name was a blessing because I still get 1 in 4 people I talk to. They've talked to me, they've seen in emails, they see the way that it's spelled. When I meet them, they'll say, "Oh, we actually thought we were going to meet with a guy today." And I laugh it off. I think it's great comedy. But so I would say my name was a blessing because they really didn't think Cori was a girl until they figured out by talking to me on the phone or seeing me in person. So I would say that my parents blessed me there with a good name.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, and the fact that, so how long have you worked with your mom?
Well, we've always worked together per se, even when she owned her own truck line. We bounce ideas off each other, and she was sole owner of NACCO at the time. So 23 years.
Wow.
Oh, wow. And have you had a good standing relationship with that, situation working with your mom?
Absolutely. We're kind of direct opposites. She always says I'm just like my dad. So I think that helps us. I don't want to be in her lane, in her accounting arena, payroll. I want no part of that. I'm here to help her with questions or anything, but she is the lead and what she says goes. So we really don't cross paths. And I love that she ran her truck line for 30 plus years. And she knows how to handle the drivers and the sides of things. And she was a dedicated transporter in Nebraska. So a little bit different arena. In the packing house side. So completely different from what I do. So just her mindset and understanding of logistics is great. And she's a great person to bounce ideas off when it comes to the team, the culture, direction of the business, because she drove her own business for that long. And so we have a great support network between the two of us. And she's always very interested in what goes on at NACCO and has said too, it's changed so much from when your dad started NACCO to when I stepped into where we are today.
That's awesome. Not a lot of people can say that, so that's great that you have such a good relationship.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, we're going to take a quick break and bring our sponsor up on the video. So we'll be back in just
go.
All right. So our sponsor, Talento. We help companies grow with the right people and the right support. At Talento, we start by understanding your business goals, then guide you toward the talent and solutions that make growth possible. Whether it's strengthening your team with nearshore professionals or identifying smarter ways to scale, we offer tailored support directly or through trusted partners, because sustainable growth takes more than hiring. It takes clarity, strategy, and the right connections.
Logistics moves fast, but is your hiring keeping up? Struggling with high turnover? Hiring taking way too long? Talent costs soaring through the roof? It's time for a smarter solution. Meet Talento, the future of logistics hiring. Nearshore talent tailored to your needs with a faster hiring time, stronger teams, and top-tier professionals from Latin America at a fraction of the cost. Skilled, reliable, and ready to make an impact. Scale smarter, hire better, and stay ahead with Talento. Ready to transform your team? Book a call with us at talento-io.com to learn about our faster, smarter, and limitless solutions today.
And we're back. Awesome, and we're back.
Yeah.
So I guess to go a little bit more into, you mentioned earlier you had, you have all women that work for you? Like
Yes.
the whole company?
The whole company is
So
all
how many
girls.
women is that?
There's 4 of us total.
Okay.
Okay.
Does that include your mom?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I was thinking it might be a little bit more, so I'm like, I wonder how that's working out. No, because we talk about here, you know, we had probably about 60% women versus men, and it's great to have the women, but sometimes you got to balance it a little bit, you know?
Yep.
So how is that dynamic then in your office with other women? They all work well together?
We do. And I think Shaquana puts it best. She said, we all know our strengths and we all know our weaknesses, and we're okay with that. And we can read each other very well. It's business is business. There's a running joke in my office. I'm a horrible dispatcher, and they know it. And so Shaquana just prefers I do not answer any of the dispatch lines. And if I do, politely put them on hold and get them to her team as fast as possible. So they know that that's my weakness. And I also know that there's one on my team that isn't comfortable talking directly to customers and to shippers. So she's quick to transition that call to me or Shaquana. So we know our arena, and we also know where the other ones aren't comfortable, and to read that and say, hey, I can help you. I got your back. So I think we've built that within our team, and it's been very beneficial to our success.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I think sometimes people feel like certain people should be able to do all these different qualities within a job, but not realizing, okay, they might be good at 3 of the 4. So don't force the 4th one, because you're not going to get what you need, right? And in understanding that, I would say the same thing even here for like me and my COO. We're kind of opposites too. What I'm good at, he's not, and what he's good at, I'm not, which is numbers. So to your point as well, I think understanding that, but also allowing people to be okay with those shortcomings or the weaknesses, I guess, that they have too, and understanding that. And I feel like you're actually really pushing the fact that, hey, it's okay that you're not good at this person is.
Right.
So
and it's something like Shaquana. I always joke with Shaquana because she's been there. I think she's been with me 11 or 12 years, and great. I mean, again, direct opposites. And when clients meet us together, they almost laugh because they've worked with both of us long enough to know. And she's very comfortable going to an existing client that she's gotten to engage with, to work with, to manage, their operations and transactions. She's great in that arena. She does not want to tag along with me to 4 or 5 new potential client meetings that she's not comfortable. And I know that that's not a good use of her time. Bring her in where they know her, they've worked with her, they've talked with her, and then she's great. She's thriving in that environment. Even though she says she doesn't want to go, she does excellent. And then our clients can see she's the quiet, reserved one. I'm the more, let's see the challenge, let's go.
So let's bring in the hammer.
That's my hammer. So,
Definitely.
so
So
I think
over the years since like you came in, I know you talked about like the challenge of moving down there and the new office and new role and all that. Did you have any other big challenges since you've say been down there permanently with NATCO that you have faced that you've been able to overcome?
I would say it's the continuous. I mean, we're all looking for to expand our team and to hire efficiently and to bring in the right talent to our team. That's always, I think, going to be a struggle. And also the awareness of transportation. I was thinking about our topics of empowering women. Is logistics obviously was not what I was going to choose to do in my life, but it was kind of ingrained with me within my family. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. And I always encourage people to see that there's so much opportunity within logistics. And there are a lot of women, like you said, your team, Christy, is 60% female. There are so many more females now than when Christy and I started. So that's something that I always say is it's a great challenge within a challenge. And I think that there's more opportunity for women in logistics now and to take that and run with it because there's some great opportunities as well as some great niche markets that you can work in as a female.
Well, and speaking of that, like one of the things we like to ask people too is like, have you had challenges being a female in this space? Like dealing with carriers or customers, I feel like a lot of people have stories to tell. Do you have one?
Yeah, I mean, Shaquana even says, and we've talked about this in the office, and she said sometimes I think people doubt our ability because we're all women. And she said, I don't say that they doubt it, but they're just having a hard time saying, wow, how they pull that off or how do they do that? And I think that might be there, but I don't think that it's glaringly as bad or as obvious as it used to be. And I do think that I've maybe had some doors closed because I'm a female. I do think at times we've had the question of we're a team of 4, we still get this done. And so that I think that's more of a struggle is maybe our size sometimes than just being women. So
yeah, I can see that. I know when we were smaller, that was challenging to grow past a certain size, and then with being a woman in general, like I know in the past, like when there was an issue, they'd want to talk to a manager, and I was the manager. And
yep.
like, but no, I need the manager, and because I was a woman, they didn't want to talk to me.
Yes.
So my dad had to step in.
Yeah, and that's something like Shaquana. She's like, I got to get with management, and I'll look at her, and she's like, oh, don't worry. She's like, this is a no-go.
Now, do you feel like you have to do extra to garner the respect of carriers that you're talking to when you're trying to book this type of freight?
I don't think so. And this came up in a conversation with one of our customers recently. We have an annual meeting with them, and one of my contacts said, one thing I love about working with you and your team is that when the drivers come in, they know exactly who they've been working with. They know if they've been working with Shaquana, if they've been working with Brittany, and if I'm in the mix, okay, from a dispatch perspective, they know by name of I spoke with Brittany. Let me get with Brittany if I have questions. And he said that resonates with us because when we know a NATCO truck is coming in per se, they're going to have all the details. They're going to know exactly who to talk to, know the scope of work, and not be, I'm here and I'm not sure what to do. I don't even know who to call to ask a question. So I gave kudos to my team. All of us were in the meeting. And I said, that is solely Shaquana and Brittany's operations of selling who they are, having the drivers back. And then we have a lot of repetitive carriers, obviously being in business as long as we have that core network. And so they know who we are and we know who they are. Shaquana has a motto. She's like, I want somebody who's existing to work with me because I know what to expect. And so I thought that was a great compliment to the development of drivers and carriers from Shaquana and Brittany because they take the time to say, hey, I'm Brittany. If you have any questions, you call me anytime because I'm going to make sure to help you out. And then to have a customer say, hey, they know your names when they roll into the building. I thought that was a great attribute to their work and to selling, we're here to have your back.
Right. Now that's good. I mean, because again, you never really know. Like, I think when I was younger, back then. But I also think too, when you know what you're talking about,
Yeah,
people tend to know, like, okay, they know their stuff, and
they know their stuff.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be a problem. No, but that's definitely good to hear, because again, you don't always hear that's the case. And and you know, I will say, I know not everyone will agree with this, but I do feel women tend to be more organized, can multitask a lot better. Some men can too. But I will say that those are one of the things. I feel like we were born with that just because we were supposed to be the moms, right? And taking care of the family and all that kind of stuff at home. So I think in the work environment, as women came in and continue to come in, we're able to still do it all. It's not easy, but we still can do it all.
I can vouch for it right now. Definitely all the way. I mean, I had my inbound specialist, my outbound specialist, women, detail oriented, down to the, you know, like the penny on what was going on. And they always had a neat desk, you know, and here's my desk that just piled, and my other buddy too. And it's just like, yeah, I'll definitely defend women on that. They are more organized than guys, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree for sure. So what would you say, like, what's a big lesson that you learned once you got into the leadership role? Like, I know as you work through all these things, right, we all make mistakes and things happen, and then you're like, oh, that really taught me. Now I need to look at it this way. What would you say?
I would say it's from a global perspective of listen more and take a step back to think, analyze, not too long, but take a step back and not make a fire reaction of a yes, we need to do this, and no, we don't. And ask for input. Ask for input from your team, and especially if it involves a company decision, or to work with a customer, or there's resolving an issue with a carrier or even a shipper customer. That's something that I think I've learned is listen and then ask questions as well to have a full understanding. And my way definitely isn't always the right way. So to listen more and to take some more advice from people that maybe see it a different way. I think that's something that I've learned over the years, is to take a step back. Let's look at it. Let's think about it. And then let's move forward.
Yeah, Jeff always talks about listening with intent.
Yeah. There's two different types of listening. Listening just to listen, and to listen with intent as to actually what was said, which is the key to success. You know, and it really is. Some people don't know that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say, like, with your advice too, I know that I tend to want to just react, and my leadership team has, told me, because I ask them, we all give advice about each other, but I want them to give me something I can work on, and I'm sure that's really hard for them to do.
Oh, definitely.
But I'm over here like, guys, I need help too,
Right.
It's not fair for me to just dictate you all need to work on this and I'm perfect.
Right.
But that's one thing too, is just, kind of like you said, stepping back a little bit, thinking about it a little bit more, maybe sleeping on it overnight instead of reacting. Because my dad I would say he was pretty bad, but now that I think about it, I'm probably similar.
You're right there.
His style a little bit, maybe not as crazy, but I just want to fix things, and kind of move forward with it. But sometimes you do need to think things through. I think that's really important for sure. And I think one of the other things, are you still on the board of the TIA?
Yes.
You are. Okay. So what seat are you considered?
I am the chair of the foundation committee, and so I'm also on the EC as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was curious because I'm no longer on the board. Yes, and that's how I met you in the first place. So I was
thinking about that. I remember the day I met Christine. I'm like, I like her because I think we can mesh.
Yeah. No, and that was my first time ever being on a board. I'm like, okay, this is interesting.
Yes.
To learn, but I learned from so many people, because you got to meet other CEOs and other people in companies just to learn from. So talk a little bit about what you're doing there and why that's important.
It's been a great experience, and I do remember. I think I was actually coming onto the board the first time I met you at a TIA function, and you were a chair lead for the rail. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And so through the just the open board seat, and then moving up to the foundation and learning more about the insides of what TIA does for brokers in our industry has been fascinating. And to work with not only the TIA staff, but like you said, the other CEOs and other key roles on the board has been so eye-opening to me. There's things that, I mean, obviously being a small company, that maybe I don't run into as often, but then we've been able to work through, and I've learned from that process of just watching how they communicate, how they handle a problem, the insight, and the communication amongst us all on the board. That's been phenomenal. And so being on the executive committee and being one of two females now has been very interesting for me and fun. And I would say it's just been fun. They've been embraced it. There's company sizes ranging from me to very large. And so it's a great mindset of different approach, but we're all in the same industry and doing the same thing, moving stuff from A to B. So it's been a great experience of learning what we can do to give back to the association and to the other members. And I think back to the mentors I encountered or met the first time at TIA. I'm still in contact with a lot of them. And I know, Christy, you probably know, you meet those people and it's like you just pick up where you left off. It's just like, it's like your 1,500 of your best friends is what I call conference.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And so it's been a great avenue. And I feel our industry is a little bit different, where we work together more, or we can call each other and say, hey, Christy, I have this problem. Have you ever encountered this? Or what would you do? Where I don't think that's as prevalent in other industries. And so I'm thankful for that network that the TIA has provided to me and to all the rest of the members.
Yeah. Now that's good to hear, because I mean, I felt the same way too. I was intimidated, I think, because I was young, and to meet all these people, but then realizing how important it was to build those relationships, and everyone wants to help. And as you mentioned too, I still go every single year, regardless. I'm still heavily involved in the intermodal side of things over there. So it's always great to see all those people. And again, even learning from the small companies, the big companies, no matter what size you are, you always have something to learn, which I think is extremely important. So,
yes.
And one of the last things I wanted to ask you too, so since we are coming to the end of the show, I wanted to ask you what kind of advice, if you could give advice to any woman, I say anyone typically, but coming into the industry, or someone that's in the industry that wants to move up, what advice would you give them?
I would say the advice I would give them is get involved in the industry in general, of other networking, finding other women who are in similar roles or have similar paths. Because like Christy, I know that you're very open with your track record of how you got to your role and being in a family-owned business. I am too. I'm an open book when it comes to any struggles or any wins that you can help people get, and just introducing people to others and have that open discussion, because I think there's so much help out there. And I always look to like the Women in Logistics Luncheon, and I know you're a part of, Christy. I remember when that was almost held in a closet because there was 20 people. Now we're 200 plus, and we have a large conference room to have us all there at conference. So my advice is to get involved and to find that network and that build that mentoring network of females, because that will be so beneficial moving forward, of whether it's within the company you're in, to finding an opportunity that's a good fit for you to continue your growth. I always say I owe a lot of my success to the network of the TIA and just the education side of helping me get to where I'm at. So I would say stress the networking, stress asking questions, and finding that outlet that you're comfortable in, because there's a huge network there to help you.
Yes, I love that. Well, one thing you mentioned, I totally forgot to bring up, I always bring up, is mentoring. So like, have you been mentored? Do you have mentors, and do you mentor anyone?
Yes, I do have some great mentors. There's still still around at TIA. They're not as heavily involved, but they're still arms reach across. And I love that. And I go back there. They're probably people I met at the first TIA event in 2008 or 9. So, I mean, it's been a minute. So I love seeing that path and working with them. And I feel like I'm getting on the older side of that now, because I'm seeing the TIA faces are all new. I don't know some of these young people coming in. And so I feel that having that resource and being available to them, I don't have any direct people that I'm, mentoring right now, but to be that open resource of, hey, ask Cori at NACO, she'll help you. I'm totally open to stuff like that. Or if it's asking me to participate in a small group within TIA or any other association, I'm always game on, because I feel that that's helping others within the industry.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's one thing about women. Like, we're very open to helping each other for the most part. I'm not going to say all women, but in general, I would say I found that in logistics, where everyone is willing to share and help lift each other up to get to the next level. Because I think, for being in it as long as all three of us have been, if we can help prevent some mistakes from other people that we've made, I think that's really important to do that. So. But yeah, with that, I mean, it's been an awesome show. It went by really fast. Truly appreciate you sharing your journey with us.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, and how can people find you or NATCO?
You can find us on the web at natcotransport.com, and we also have our social media pages on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and they're all under NATCO Transport.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us, Cori. I think it was educational. I think it's going to help out a lot of women out there that are thinking about running their own business. That it's not easy. There's a lot of obstacles and barriers you have to climb over. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was a great pleasure.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks everybody for watching us. Another episode of the Storytelling Chronicles, empowering women into logistics. We'll be back in the next 2 weeks. So make sure that you follow, and hopefully everybody will enjoy the rest of their week. Take care now.
Have a great day.
You too.
You too.